Your plane crashes and you're in Canada. The snow's falling, there's flames everywhere, you need shelter from the storm, and need to prepare as you set out to find your lady Anna, who was in the crash with you. This is a survival-based game in a story mode that is set to have 5 total episodes with perspectives from both of these characters. Strangely enough though, this game has a platinum trophy and no trophies for these 3 missing episodes. You've got about 8 hours of story with Will in the first 2, with the remaining to be released later as I'm guessing DLC. The Long Dark took me a while to get an understanding of what exactly to do, as it is probably one of the worst tutorials I've ever played through. You sort of have to mash buttons to figure out what button does what, unless you pull up a manual like it's 2002. The game also doesn't really walk you through how to use its systems. For example, it tells you fire melts snow. Thanks for that. I would have never known. But it doesn't tell you you don't have to actually collect snow, so I wasted a good amount of time looking for something to collect snow with. I went to Google and thankfully I'm not alone in this, so a lack of a proper tutorial is definitely an issue. But after messing around with everything and understanding the game, I really started to have a lot of fun with this mission-based story mode. Gathering materials for fire, fetch questing for information, swapping out my old duds for new fresh gear, making sure I had food, water, and medicine in case I got hurt. The game starts with a very linear feel as it teaches you the basics of surviving, but eventually opens up into a larger map. And this is when surviving gets more challenging, as you're dealing with dangerous wildlife like wolves and later bears. And you have to start considering exhaustion, as you need to sleep to heal, while at the same time making sure you don't die of hunger in your sleep. Wolves here are probably the most annoying thing about this game. Food is the hardest thing to come by. Luckily you're able to stun bunnies and cringe while you snap their necks for food. But you're also able to take the meat from freshly killed deer or wolves. 99% of the time though, those bodies will have wolves on them that will attack you and will injure you to a point that you might as well just let them kill you and restart from a checkpoint trying your best to avoid them. Even though they'll randomly just attack you as you leave a building sometimes. They can be scared by fire, but encounters with them are still always terrifying because they pose a real threat. I found them to be just a little too frequent though. I never really caught a break when it came to food besides the occasional food on shelves in the multiple houses you'll come across. Which brings me to my biggest issue with this game, crashes. The PlayStation 4 version of this game has a 50% chance of crashing every single time you leave a building. I counted 14 crashes just from the first episode alone. One crash actually stopped me from playing the game completely while in episode 2. After finishing episode 1, watching the credits, I continue my game to play episode 2. The game crashes while it loads. I retried, this time the game freezes. When I reload the game again, my save was gone. The game still knew I've completed episode 1, so episode 2 was still unlocked, but everything I collected from that playthrough was gone. I didn't find it too much of a big deal having to recollect supplies, until about 30 minutes into this episode when I realized all my tools for collecting essential materials are gone too. The game has no fail saves for potential problems like this. It doesn't give you a generic loadout when you start a new